Good morning. I am Mehdi Sunderji, and welcome to the Crypto Dome on OETV. We are here with Adam Blumberg, co-founder at Interaxis. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mehdi. Our call sign here, you know what we talk about all the time. There's always something to talk about in crypto.
Always something to talk about. I was looking at out, we were talking offline, and it feels like our conversations are getting a bit too grown up these days. I want to bring back the days of Lambos and the crazy stuff that was happening in the early days of crypto. But I guess at some point, we got to have some grown-ups running the asylum.
I think we do. And funny, you mentioned the asylum, maybe the zoo, something like that, because we've talked about apes, we've talked about all sorts of animals. But yeah, I feel like the grown-ups have really started to enter the room. And honestly, the last few months, it's been nuts, the announcements we've seen and the building that we've seen. And all that has to go back a few years. It's not like people just all of a sudden said, we think crypto is good and we're going to invest millions and millions of maybe even billions of dollars in it. These are conversations that had to have been going back a while.
And it's great, to be honest. I kind of, it makes me sleep better at night because you sit there, forget the price of Bitcoin or ETH or whatever it is, right? It's kind of irrelevant, but seeing people like, and this is our first conversation, right? The European Council has launched a comprehensive, or the most comprehensive crypto set of regulations out there, right? This is huge, right? This means they haven't wasted 2 years if it's going away, right? Every country, every regulator, everyone is really digging down and trying to figure out how they can do a better job of making something more structured and safer and more user-friendly for both institutional and retail investors. What do you think about this set of crypto regulations that the European Council has passed?
Look, I think it's great. And I'll be honest, I haven't read the entire thing because I tend to not read these too much until they get passed because they're going to get changed so much. So now that it's pretty close, I'll have to actually dive into that one weekend, which, really excites me. But I think it's great that the EU is passing this. And from what I've read, Mehdi, from what other people have said, and the little bit of it I've read, is they're not looking at crypto necessarily as people just trading it up and down, people just looking at the price of Bitcoin or looking at the price of ETH, or worse, other altcoins or NFTs or something. They're looking at it on the whole. They're looking at what happens with stable coins and how it impacts their banks. They're looking at what might be considered something like a security and actually putting some nomenclature and some rules around that. And therefore, who gets to regulate, who among the EU gets to regulate things that they deem to be a security. They're defining things like what is a crypto asset and therefore whose jurisdiction does it fall under. And they're even looking at things like NFTs, and they're saying, look, NFTs are not going to be regulated if they're if they're concert tickets or if they're just a collectible or something. We're not going to regulate those like we do other things. So they're really being thoughtful about it, which is kind of the exciting part.
Well, and what made me happy was that it's not TradFi, DeFi. It's, let's see the complementary side between these two financial tools. And that's going to upset some people on both sides of the coin, but it's a better solution for the world at large when you're looking at both of these working hand in hand. People are going to have a certain portion of their assets in crypto, but they'll maybe keep the bulk. You might have the DeFi guys have the bulk in crypto and a small fraction in traditional finance. And it's great that these regulators are starting to look at things as a holistic kind of approach to investment or regulation around these financial tools versus pigeonholing things. So I think the European Council is doing a very good job on how they're handling this.
Right. They're doing my bias comes out, they're doing a much better job than the US is doing. And part of it, Mehdi, is they're looking at it as a whole. They're saying, what are the crypto assets that people are trying to buy and hold or trade and hope they go up versus the actual underlying system? How are we going to regulate that somewhat like we might regulate the traditional finance system or the banking system or the monetary system or something? And they're really, as we've said, looking at the whole picture and understand how people are going to use it and not just do some sort of knee-jerk reaction that says some people lost money, therefore we're going to over-regulate. Nor have they said, keep in mind, nor have they said our existing regulations are good enough. They have not said we're going to enforce what we already have. They said we know that we need to make some new regulation. This is a totally new technology, a new financial system. We need to put our thinking caps on and come up with something better.
Well, even Portugal threw their cap in the ring. Portugal's been a historical tax haven. And it's obviously not fantastic. Everyone would love to not pay taxes, but they announced that they'll be putting a 28% tax on crypto gains from next year. Actually, in 2024, maybe, on cryptocurrencies that are held for less than a year. They've obviously put thought into it. It's not, some crazy tax scheme or any of this type of stuff. It's great, and it kind of fits in with their tax haven status, but they also don't want people churning crypto. And that's going to help, again, with the stability and the growth and acceptance and dominance of crypto over the years.
Yeah, I think so. And so this is Portugal saying, look, there are so many crypto companies that have moved to Portugal. There are so many people that are involved in crypto that have moved to Portugal. Honestly, I've thought about it myself. I've never actually been there, but it looks like a beautiful place and I'd love to go. And oddly enough, the tax thing didn't really get me. That's not really what attracts me to Portugal. It's so many other things, but you've seen so many people who are in crypto and like trading it. And all they do is, high-speed trade, or they trade crypto all day, and they haven't been paying anything in taxes, which doesn't help Portugal at all. So they're saying, look, if you're coming here to trade crypto and that's it, you're going to pay some tax to be here, right? That's kind of your fee to be here. If you're going to invest in it and hold it, if you're going to start a company here, then yeah, you don't have to pay the tax if you've held it for over a year. So what they're doing is they're saying, how do we support ourselves? And how do we still help companies that want to come here in the crypto in this new financial system? But if you're just coming here to trade, if you're just going to come set up, your computer with 18 monitors and just trade crypto all day and get on Twitter, then you're going to pay a little fee to do that because you're not really helping our economy if you're doing that.
They could just charge more for monitors.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look at some of the other news in the tape this week. Google and Coinbase. Google came out saying that they were joining with Coinbase to accept crypto for cloud services. As soon as Google dips their toe officially into a relationship, this is obviously quite positive for Coinbase and, again, for crypto as a whole. It's great.
Yeah. It seems like it is. Now, of course, Coinbase stock shot up yesterday. That was a good thing for Coinbase, right? Anytime Google is in the same sentence, I guess, it's a good thing. And unless it's Google coming in to, decide they're going to be an exchange themselves. But what they're saying is that they're working with Coinbase such that, those users that want to pay for Google Cloud services with crypto can do so. And that's a really big deal. And the other part of this, Mehdi, which might have gone under the radar a little bit, is Google is actually going to use Coinbase Prime as a custodian. That tells me that maybe if I pay for my Google Cloud services using Bitcoin, that Google's actually going to hold on to it. They're not necessarily just going to turn around and sell it and and realize the dollars for it. So that's a pretty big deal as well. The other thing that we've seen recently with Google is I can go search my ETH address on Google. If I just put in my ETH address on Google, it's going to come up with my wallet. It's going to come up with my information. That goes to the transparency of the Ethereum blockchain, right? So that's a new thing with Google. I don't know if it's good or bad that someone can just go search my wallet on Google. I kind of liked that they had to actually kind of know how to use some of the technology, but it's a step forward in the more mainstreaming, right? It's a step forward in payments. That's a huge thing. The number of people that use Google Cloud services that now have the option to pay with crypto is monstrous.
Sorry, note to self, search Adam's ETH book on Google afterwards.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. What's the wallet code? It is. Listen, it's. We know it's all the openness of the blockchain is amazing, and it again makes it more accessible. So whether it's good or bad, I don't know, but it's that accessibility where I know my parents can go and figure out how to use their ETH wallet a lot easier now than maybe they would have done 6 months ago. So all these types of things, I think it just brings it more to the masses, and it just makes more comfort levels better, everything. It's all about broad-based adoption.
Right. And Mehdi, it goes to the beginning of our conversation here, right? The adults are entering the room and they're not, when the adults come in the room, they don't do it because it's a fad or a trend or they're trading or something. They've thought about this. Google obviously has thought about this a lot. Even, back in 2018, they wouldn't allow any ads that mention cryptocurrency. And that's that was a big deal. And now to make this turn and say, now we're actually going to partner with a crypto company. We're actually going to accept crypto for payments. That's a big switch for them.
Let's keep going in the right direction. SEC probes. My poor old Bored Apes have had a little SEC probe in them. So they probed into Yugo Labs, the creators of Bored Apes. This is all about the digital asset. Ultimately, is the sale of these digital assets violating federal law? It's my understanding of the probe. So, where are we on this?
Right. I think it's trying to understand. I mean, you and I have talked at length about the potential value of a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk and how it's going towards, potentially I can get royalties, I can get licensing fees. And so the SEC is looking at the idea of, okay, does that make these a security according to the regulations that we have? Are these securities? And they're looking at Bored Apes and other, other assets like that, other crypto assets, I guess. And they're going to be doing this probably for all the, the big DAOs or the big organizations like that. And, kind of looking until we get regulation, kind of like we just talked about in the EU. So right now it's the SEC going back to the really, 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 really old definition of what a security is and going, does this meet the requirements of a security? And, trying to probe and decide. It's kind of funny to talk about Bored Apes and then probes. And you kind of think like that should be a whole new group of NFTs.
Probed apes.
Yep.
Oh, let's go with that one.
Let's go mint that one.
But this is a very important point, right? And where we've just been highlighting how thoughtful a lot of European regulation has been around trying to fit in with crypto assets and DeFi across the board. I feel like we're still seeing the SEC, and obviously they're working on this very rigorously to try and come up with some solutions and some more regulation that helps everyone. But it feels like they're still trying to, as you mentioned, put new assets into old structured regulation. And it might not necessarily be able to fit a square peg into a round hole. And at some point, they need to step back and look at things from 60,000 feet rather than being too granular with their faces in their books and saying, hey, is this a security or isn't it? Well, maybe it's something else.
Yeah. And I think, we've talked about that, and they are trying to fit the square peg in the round hole, and they're trying to, fit it all into this box of old regulation that existed before we had internet, and, before we had everything we have now. So it really, it probably doesn't make sense. And what it does is it stifles innovation a bit. It's every time we take 2 steps forward, we got to take 1 step back and figure out if what we do is legal. And there are plenty of times, Mehdi, where I think some of these crypto companies, protocols, projects are 100% issuing securities, and they know it, and they're trying to just go try to raise money that way. And I totally agree with finding those and saying you can't do that. What some of these NFT projects are doing is just different. It's innovative, and we're supposed to actually embrace and support innovation in these directions. This is innovation. This is taking out a lot of intermediaries. This is helping. This is utilizing technology that we have. And why wouldn't we continue to utilize the technology that we have, and then we keep progressing forward?
And I think a lot of this comes down to like 2016, 17, when ICOs, initial coin offerings, were so popular and they were rampant, and people were losing a lot of money. There was a lot of fraudulent stuff going on around then. And if you're an SEC regulator, you sit there and you see, okay, these Yugo Labs are issuing these Bored Apes. It looks like a security the way it's trading. They've now got Ape Coin on the back of it. Is that an ICO? They just airdropped X% to the people that held the Bored Apes. All of these things feel like they could be infringing on some of the things that have happened in the past that have left investors holding the bag, and they've got ripped off. So I understand that the dilemma the SEC's in, but it feels like they should be taking a bit more of a step back to look forwards rather than necessarily backwards.
Right, and to look at what I'm guessing is a stack of companies or groups that the SEC is going to look at. And what I would like better, look, because I want regulatory clarity. I don't want this to be completely Wild West and everyone can do whatever they want. I want some sort of regulatory clarity, and that comes from the SEC or the CFTC or whomever, Treasury or whomever, laying out some rules, saying here's what we're looking for. If you do this, you are 100% going to be determined to be a security. If you do these other things, maybe we need to, have a 3-year sandbox. Maybe you need to be decentralized. And I hope that in the background, they're working on that. And I wish they would spend more time doing that and less time actually probing Bored Apes.
No one wants to probe a Bored Ape. Adam, right. So we're now at the stage where we've got some good news, or more positive news. RIAs, your universe. Envestnet, one of the largest RIA access platforms, is working with Gemini. Our twins, the Winklevoss twins, have been, getting themselves ingrained in the RIA universe, and they are now giving access to crypto through the Tamarac platform, which is the Envestnet access platform. So what? An RIA can go to their existing access point at the Envestnet Tamarac platform. They can utilize Gemini's exchange to be able to access crypto assets. And this is huge, right? This gives access to like 3,000 RIAs and like over $1 trillion in assets.
Yes, this is huge because so many things to unpack here. One is RIAs have not necessarily gotten into crypto thus far because it doesn't fit in with what we call their workflows. It doesn't fit neatly with who they use as technology providers. It doesn't fit neatly with their reporting and with their billing. They had to go outside to someone like Gemini to manage crypto assets. So they have assets, managed from a technology perspective through someone like Envestnet, on custodians like Fidelity and Schwab, and then they had to go outside to Gemini and they had to somehow sync up reporting and billing and everything else. And now with what Envestnet has done is they've said, look, we're going to bring Gemini. Oh, and there's also a company called Flourish that they're using as well. So Envestnet users are going to have a choice between Gemini and Flourish. In both of those companies have been very good about helping RIAs set up separate accounts for each one of their clients. So it's not that the RIA has one big account and manages it that way like a fund. Gemini and Flourish have been built to allow financial advisors, RIAs, to have each client have their own account. It helps them with account setup. And in that way, it's going to fit easier into reporting and billing and account opening and everything else that advisors need. I should point out also that Flourish is actually 100% owned by MassMutual. So now you can't have a more old, stodgy company than MassMutual, although I will tell you that MassMutual is a tremendously tech forward for a large mutual insurance company, and maybe has the best investment team out there. But MassMutual bought Flourish 100%. It is a platform for financial advisors to get clients into crypto. And now Envestnet and their Tamarac platform is going to allow advisors to choose Gemini or Flourish and get their clients into crypto. So it's coming. So now all those advisors that control over $100 trillion, many of whom use Envestnet, are now going to have access to crypto. That's kind of a big deal.
It certainly sounds, when you say 100 trillion, anything's going to be a big deal. When you, just in regards to the flow of how this would potentially work, would that give the underlying client their own wallet in Gemini?
No, it's going to give them an account at Gemini, Gemini being the exchange and custodian. It's not much different from my having an account at Coinbase.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's going to give them an account, but it's going to give the advisor the ability to manage that account. So you're going to have an advisor that says, look, we're going to create a portfolio that's going to be Bitcoin, ETH, and Aave or something. It's going to be, a third, a third, a third. We're going to rebalance every quarter, whatever we're going to do. And if I'm the investor It allows, if I'm the client, it allows you, Mehdi, my advisor, to just manage my crypto for me. I don't have to worry with it. And it's held at a major exchange, one that has, a bunch of insurance behind it and a bunch of security behind it. So if I want exposure to crypto, I don't have to do it through a fund anymore. I can do it directly, my advisor can manage it. And what we're also seeing because of these two platforms is they give other managers the ability to create portfolios. So if I'm your client, you can say, Adam, give me your, $50,000 and I'll manage it in crypto. And then you go find an expert that creates the portfolio. And all you do is put me with that expert. They manage my crypto portfolio and I don't have to do anything. I go about my job and I have my crypto exposure.
That's perfect. I love it. I love it. This is great stuff. It's all going in the right direction. Adam, there's only one thing missing, my friend. We need to create more education for RIAs, and I don't know how we can do that.
I have some ideas.
Well, Adam,
we're creating more all the time. We have our last, I'm going to give my shameless plug. Our last cohort of the year is starting October 31st, which is Bitcoin White Paper Day. So any RIAs that are interested in learning about this, maybe you're with Envestnet, maybe you see this coming. I'm telling you, once Envestnet did this, all the other big technology providers in the traditional world are going to come. And so this is the time to start learning. We're not in the bull market yet, but the next bull market is going to include financial advisors. And so advisors, accountants, everyone, now's the time to learn because the next bull market, all your clients are going to have crypto.
And get yourself prepared and educated before that bull market comes back. And there's links at the side, digital assets and crypto education for financial advisors. And our friends at Interaxis will help you get better educated. Adam, it's always a pleasure talking crypto with you. And I look forward to chatting on Bitcoin White Paper Day with you as well.
All right. Look forward to it, Mehdi. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for watching and good luck investing.